I started believing my husband was a vampire 3 months after our wedding, and the terrifying part is that I actually had reasons to believe it. At first it was only small things that felt strange enough to ignore during the excitement of being newly married. He hated sunlight and always kept the curtains closed even during beautiful mornings. He rarely ate with me, and whenever I asked if he was hungry, he would smile softly and say he already ate outside. Sometimes I woke up in the middle of the night and found his side of the bed empty, and when he returned hours later, his clothes smelled like cold air and wet soil as if he had been wandering somewhere far away in the dark. I tried convincing myself that I was overthinking, but then the nightmares started. Every full moon felt different inside that house. The atmosphere became heavy, almost suffocating. My husband grew quieter on those nights, distant in a way that frightened me. He barely spoke and spent hours staring silently out the window at the moon as if listening to something calling him from outside. Then, close to midnight, he would leave the house without explaining where he was going. Whenever I asked, he simply said he needed fresh air. But nobody takes long walks every single full moon and comes back just before sunrise with mud on their shoes and sadness in their eyes. The first time I truly became afraid was when I found blood on our front door. I had opened the door one morning and nearly screamed when I saw dark red stains smeared near the handle. My heart started racing immediately. My husband came downstairs moments later, saw the stains, and froze for half a second before calmly grabbing a cloth and cleaning them without saying a word. That silence terrified me more than anything else. If there was an explanation, why wouldn't he tell me? After that, every strange thing became evidence in my mind. The pale skin, the sleepless nights, the silence, the full moon disappearances. I started searching online for signs of vampires at 3 in the morning, while he slept beside me. By then, fear had already poisoned my thoughts. Then the neighbor's child disappeared. The entire neighborhood panicked overnight. Police cars filled the streets. People searched everywhere calling the boy's name, and mothers refused to let their children outside after sunset. I tried staying calm, but inside I felt something collapsing. The child had vanished during a full moon. The same night my husband disappeared for hours. That coincidence destroyed whatever sanity I had left. When he finally returned home near dawn, I noticed dirt on his coat sleeve and what looked like another small bloodstain near his wrist. My stomach twisted so violently I thought I would faint. He looked exhausted, emotionally drained, but in my terrified mind that only made him look guilty. I barely slept that night because one horrifying thought kept repeating inside my head over and over again. What if I married a monster? The next evening I finally broke. My fear had grown too large to contain, and when the moon rose bright outside our bedroom window, I confronted him. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely speak, but once the words started coming I couldn't stop them. I accused him of lying to me, of disappearing every full moon, of hiding blood, of acting strange ever since we married. At first he stared at me in complete shock, but then his expression slowly changed into sadness. And then he confessed. In a quiet, broken voice, he admitted that he had been hiding the truth from me. He told me he had spent years trying to control himself, trying to live normally, trying not to hurt anyone. He said every full moon made it harder to resist what he really was. I remember backing away from him in absolute horror while tears filled my eyes, as he stepped closer and whispered that he never wanted me to find out this way. Then suddenly I woke up. I sat upright in bed gasping for air, my entire body covered in sweat. Morning sunlight poured through the curtains, and beside me my husband was still asleep, breathing peacefully. For several seconds I couldn't separate reality from the nightmare. It had felt completely real. My hands were still trembling when I walked downstairs to clear my mind. A newspaper lay near the front door, and the headline immediately caught my attention. The missing child had been found safe early that morning. I froze while reading the article. The boy had wandered into nearby woods after chasing his dog and became lost overnight. Search teams found him exhausted but unharmed. No murder, just a lost child. I slowly lowered the newspaper and noticed faint reddish marks near the bottom of the door. My chest tightened for a moment before I leaned closer and finally realized what it actually was. Rust. The old metal decoration hanging outside the door had been leaking rusty water whenever it rained heavily. Not blood, just rust. At that exact moment my husband entered the hallway quietly, already dressed to leave. His eyes looked tired but gentle as always. Before I could stop myself, I asked him where he went during full moons. For a second he looked surprised by the question. Then he said sadly, "My mother died during a full moon," he said softly. "Every month I visit her grave and talk to her for a while. It helps me feel close to her." I couldn't speak. Suddenly every terrifying piece of evidence inside my head collapsed into something painfully ordinary. The late-night disappearances, the sadness, the silence, the dirt on his shoes, even the blood I thought I saw. My fear had transformed normal grief into horror. That morning I learned something I will never forget. When fear controls your mind, even innocent people can start looking like monsters.